Hi, welcome to Music Worth Buying. My name is TJR. I'm a musician and music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
Hey, it's good to see you again, Robert.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to get together.
And a large part of that is because I've been under the weather for so long. So, matter of fact, if I sound like I'm a little congested and stuff, it's because I am. So.
And then you got hit with some sickness, and then just as you were starting to feel better and say, hey, let's get together and shoot some episodes, then suddenly I got hit.
And then I get hit again.
With the flu,
yeah. Exactly. And it's been a tough, matter of fact, when I was at the doctor, we'll make this real quick, I couldn't believe how busy the waiting room or whatever was. I mean, it was crazy. So I guess it's been making the rounds here in Southern California for sure.
But anyway, so it's good to get back together again. And we're here to discuss 2016. We're here to discuss the music of 2016. And as we're filming this, we're just a day or two away from 2017 beginning.
Yeah, we just were able to kind of sneak in the shoot right before the deadline.
And hopefully we can get this posted. Hopefully I can get this edited and posted before the new year begins or right as the new year begins. But at any rate, though, as we're shooting this, it's just a few days away. And so I guess, first of all, there was, of course, music that we didn't get a chance to discuss together. And so maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and let's do that. I mean, normally what we do is we talk about some of our favorite albums of the year, or we try to say, hey, we missed this album during the year, so we try to catch up and do that. And you know what I'll perhaps do is start is that on the web Music Worth Buying website, I've posted my favorite 20 albums, and then I've also listed a number of the reissues and live concert recordings that came out during the year. One of the albums that didn't make my list, and it very well could have, is actually the latest from the Rolling Stones, and we had hoped to get together and talk about some new music. I would have probably put this in my top 20, but they didn't write any of the songs on it. But that's not to say it's great. I mean, it's what they've done is done blues classics.
That's not to say it's not great.
Yeah, exactly, is what I meant to say. You can see
I figured.
Yeah, the drugs are kicking in here.
Okay.
But it is simply a great album. The Stones, I think a lot of people have kind of written them off in terms of doing, kind of strong new albums. I mean, like what they did when they did Some Girls and Exile on Main Street. And that's not to say this album is in that caliber, but it is very good. They've taken some of these old Chicago blues classics, by greats like by Willie Dixon and stuff, and they've put their own stamp on those. And, the impressive thing out of all the great things on this album is just how great Mick Jagger's vocal sounds. And also his harmonica playing is just flat out, is fiery on this disc. And so I just want to say, if people haven't, maybe explored this, check out the new Stones album.
Sure.
Blue and Lonesome. It's really good.
And I've heard this album too. And of course, I talked about this album. I didn't review it, but I talked about some thoughts that I had that it made me think about. And let's open this up and just go ahead and show this to the audience here. Let them take a look at the inside.
Nice package, yeah.
Yeah, just
and you can spin it around like that so that they can see it there.
There we go.
Yeah.
I felt like the Rolling Stones had come full circle with this album, because their first albums were just covers of the people they liked, the blues heroes that they liked. Their first albums were nothing but that. They had to learn how to write songs. Their manager told them, you're going to have to write new songs. You're just lucky these kids don't realize you're doing all covers.
Yeah.
And so I feel like with this album, they came full circle, came back to this. And recently I've been reading Keith Richards' biography, Life, where he talks about, how, when they first started playing, and to this day he still thinks, Mick Jagger's one of the best front persons ever, but he really talked about Mick Jagger's harp playing, his harmonica playing, and what an amazing harp player he's always thought Mick Jagger is.
Yeah, and that really comes to the fore on this disc. Yeah,
and that's something that's just kind of gotten over the years. We just don't hear much of anymore, and we're getting to hear it on this album here.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, their last album of original material, A Bigger Bang, I thought was a pretty good album. I thought it was entirely underappreciated. And who knows, maybe this album, coming back to their roots like this, coming full circle, will reignite them for their next album. And who knows, maybe they'll really just reignite with the passion of their youth and bring us something really powerful.
Yeah, and I hope so, because they do really sound terrific here. I mean, there's a real looseness that they've always had, but it's like they get a hold of these songs, and it's like you said, it's just like they're kids again.
Yeah.
In the garage or wherever they rehearsed, and it just there's just a spirit about the album.
Yeah, I could definitely feel it.
And one thing I didn't mention is, according to the liner notes, it was recorded in 3 days. These tracks.
Yeah,
I mean
awesome.
that's great. That's like, you just don't hear about that anymore with a band at their caliber.
And actually, it's happening more and more now. More and more, I'm reading about established artists whose latest albums they're realizing they're kind of taking the Neil Young approach, not his extreme approach sometimes, but they are like really like, just let's just go in there, let's just knock it out, like they used to do in the old days. And they're coming out with very strong albums.
Yeah.
And so we're hearing more of that. Now, did you have other music you wanted to talk about? I'm going to talk about some stuff that we didn't get to talk about on the show.
Right, yeah. No,
but
this
you
was
have some stuff you want to talk about.
This was one because it did, generally what I wanted to say is this was a really strong, 2016 was a strong year. What I always do with my favorites is I don't have a number on it. I mean, a lot of people say I'm going to do my top 10.
Yeah.
I'll go back and listen to everything, and I go, maybe 15 belongs on the list, maybe 18. This year I felt like there was 20 really good studio albums of original music, and that's what I put on there. They're not ranked in any kind of order. Like, for example, David Bowie's most recent album's on there, and so is Radiohead's. These are great albums, but I didn't say David Bowie's one, Radiohead's two.
Yeah.
I go, these are great albums. Maybe on any particular day I might like this album more than the other album. But it was also a great year for reissues. But the reissues, one stood head and shoulders above the others, and that was Big Star. This is a complete third, and it's just a fantastic collection. I mean, very elaborate. It has the demo tapes, some of the early takes, and then the third disc is actually the final third album that they did, and it's everything's remastered, but it's just great because you see this album in its development.
Why don't we fill in for the audience in case they're not sure about who Big Star is? Because I fill in some if anyone's watching is not sure who Big Star is.
Because we have done that.
We've
before,
talked about
but
it
it's
before,
been a
but
while.
I think maybe you should fill them in a little bit and a little bit about this album.
Yeah. Now Big Star was a band out of Memphis, an American band, came up in the early '70s. There was all kinds of excitement. The critics loved them, but they just never, the timing was never right. Either the record labels would be going belly up, maybe the radio wouldn't catch on to something. For whatever reason, they obviously were kind of at odds with fame, even though they've had this profound influence on bands like Cheap Trick, REM, so many groups, especially in the power pop realm, credit them as one of the greatest and most influential bands that they've ever heard. But just the timing was never right. Other people like the Bangles have covered some of their material. And this album, when it came out, the third album, when it came out, the record label was such an eclectic and such a different album, they wouldn't even release it. And it was delayed even upon its release. So again, it was another one of these situations where the band just never seemed to get the support from the record label and stuff. But time has proven that the band's songs and their impact has been very significant. So I guess what Omnivore Recordings did is they tracked down all the tapes that they could find, all the demos related to this material, everything. They remastered it and put it together, and it's just a beautiful
This
package.
is their third album?
This is their third album, and I don't remember the exact year that it came out. It was in the 70s as well. And I think after this album, basically the band kind of fell apart until I think there was a reunion maybe in the 90s.
So you get the third album on one CD, but on the other CDs you get
Like the demos leading up to those tracks. So
you get kind of the making of it. in a sense,
exactly.
in a way,
you'd
sort of
really-
an audio history.
You get an audio history.
Yeah.
And I have to honestly say, some of the demos where you just hear Alex Chilton just singing, just with an acoustic guitar, and they're just very, very powerful. I mean, and you just really feel the power of these songs. I mean, it's kind of like that old thing about if somebody can't take a song and reduce it to its most simple form, whether it's the vocalist in a piano or a guitar, and that's what comes out here, and you realize how great these songs were and how much of a tragedy it was that Big Star was never famous in their time.
Okay.
But this, of all the reissues I got, and like I said, I think on my list there's well over a dozen that I highlighted on there, but this one is head and shoulders above all the reissues that I got this year.
And so we just want to check out your top 20 plus favorite reissues on
Yeah,
musicworthbuying.com.
and it's all in a column. Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm curious to read it myself because
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what your top 20
Yeah.
are yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to make a list. I don't know. I haven't done one in a couple years. I should. But I should make a list, and I should do what you do, which is don't put them in any real order. Just do them. Maybe I'll just make them alphabetically. I don't know.
Right. That's what I do.
Since the last time we got together and shared our picks for the week or whatever, a couple of albums came out that really impressed me, that I really liked, and so I'd like to just kind of share them real quick here. I did do some videos on some of these albums on my own channel, youtube.com/TJR the original. One of them I did not get a chance to cover. Hopefully I still will, but I'm going to talk about them here. So first of all, Metallica, a band that I can really only say I've been a casual fan of. I have only ever owned 2 of their albums. That's not enough, in my opinion, to be a real serious fan. Really knocked me out with this latest album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It's a double CD. I bought the version that has a third CD of live tracks and a few other extra studio tracks.
And it even folds out more here, just so everybody can
there
see
we
that.
go. There we go.
Get the full impact.
But I was completely blown away by the power of this album. Their last album, Death Magnetic, suffered from tremendous amounts of overcompression. That's not the case with this album. The music is allowed to breathe. You feel the impact of the performance. And the songs are just epic. The songs are just epic. And 'cause when I think about the 2 albums I had, of course, what people refer to as the Black Album, the big commercial hit album that everybody heard. And I have Master of Puppets on vinyl, and that's it. And so this album really energized me about Metallica and made me think, gosh, now I want to go here and really explore the rest of the back catalog. So this was kind of almost a conversion album for me, and that it really is like making me want to be a more hardcore Metallica fan. And so good job, guys, on that one. Another album that I really enjoyed was Neil Young's Peace Trail. And of course, as we know, Neil Young's been pumping them out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He's been working with the kind of fire that most young artists can't match. He's been like pumping out almost 2 albums a year, I think.
It's incredible.
But
he hasn't got the memo that you're not supposed to do that anymore, has he?
Yeah, but out of all these, and these newer albums, some of them have been met with some controversy. Some fans are saying these are the worst albums he's ever done. Some fans are really liking these new albums. Out of all the new albums, I've liked some of them. Some of them I've been kind of like, kind of questionable in my opinion. But out of all of the new ones, this is the one that I think I've really liked the most. In many respects, this comes closest to what we might refer to as classic Neil Young, 70s Neil Young, Harvest era Neil Young. At the same time, it's completely different. It's mostly an acoustic album. He's there with a bass player and a drummer. And like I said, they recorded this in just a couple days, literally. Most of the tracks are first takes. But there is a sense of fun on this album that I really liked. And I did do my own review where I mentioned it reminded me, if I had to compare it to anything, I would compare it to Beck's One Foot in the Grave album, which was one of Beck's independently released lo-fi albums, where it feels like he recorded it all like on an 8-track cassette deck.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
And it's very just like a lot of like weird, goofy stuff. And on that album, he actually has instruments deliberately out of tune
Really?
to create this kind of weird, goofy, kind of weird, or sometimes disturbing sound. Now, Neil Young, nothing's out of tune here. All the instruments are in tune. But there is that kind of sense of fun and just like being just kind of goofing off with music.
Okay.
Although there are some serious political themes too. He's been very political, of course, in his
Very
music
political, yeah.
over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And but enjoyed this one. The other albums I want to mention real quick. The latest album by The Pretty Reckless. I gave rave reviews to their last album. Very, very metal, but with a very strong pop sensibility. This continues here, but they really stretch out even further on this album.
I really need to hear that album. I have not heard it yet. Yeah, because I was impressed with their previous album after you played that.
They make a huge leap with this album, and they explore a lot of other musical territories combined with that heavy rock metal influence. They combine other elements of jazz, even elements of what I would even say elements of Gregorian chants. There are a lot of just of not being content to stay in one place in this album, and it really pays off. This album just, how shall I say, just really kicks you in the cojones, and in a really good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really knocked out by this album, and I wish more people will discover it. Nora Jones' latest release, Daybreak, is, in my opinion, her best album ever. Her best album ever, without a doubt. She says she gets back to her roots on this album, gets back to just being a piano-based album. For the last several albums, she says she's only written on guitars, not written on piano. Here she's writing on piano. She's surrounded by some very good jazz players on this album, but this to me is her most exciting album, where she's extremely eclectic. It's mostly all original songs. There's 3 covers. One of them includes a cover of Neil Young, a song by Neil Young.
Really?
From his lost classic "Time Fades Away." But yeah, I talked about this album on my channel, and it's her best album, period.
Great.
Out of everything she's done, this, in my opinion, is her best. So really do want to recommend that. And then lastly, an album I haven't had a chance to talk about on my channel or anywhere else, the latest album by Alicia Keys. And if I would just describe this album quickly, I'd say real and beautiful. A ways back, Alicia Keys made headlines because she did a photo shoot without any makeup on. And she talked about how she's getting tired of wearing makeup, having to live up to a certain standard of beauty. And you see a picture of her here without the makeup on. And I remember when she appeared on a promo for The Voice, the series The Voice, I remember a friend of mine said, "Why does Alicia Keys look so different?" I said, "Because she's not wearing makeup, that's why." She's not wearing makeup. And she looks very real and very beautiful in this picture, and the music is very real and very beautiful, even though it's the grittiest album she's ever done. She relies she leans more on her more R&B and hip hop influences in this album than on her classical music influences, because she has a lot of classical music influences, in her background. But here she relies more on that rather than the other. And she recorded this album very quickly too, I think. In a very short space of time, she recorded this album. I'm thinking like maybe just a few weeks. Just banged it out real quick. This album, I feel, really delivers on the promise of her first album. Her first album, I remember thinking, wow, this young kid wrote some pretty amazing tracks. There's some, a couple. I was thought it was a good album punctuated by a few amazing tracks, and I thought we've got real promise here. She fell off my radar because music from her albums that followed didn't quite strike me as hard, but here I think she follows up on the promise of her first album and delivers probably maybe her strongest work ever. And but yeah, very gritty album, very honest album, very real album, and that makes it very beautiful. And talks, and also very a lot of substance in what she's talking about as far as everything from Black Lives Matters to just attitudes about women. But yeah, these were all albums that I wanted to didn't get a chance to sit here and you and talk about, because we both just we both got sick.
I know, exactly,
Yeah.
and we've missed out on kind of some of our more focused shows where we've really got to get into these albums. So hopefully we can get back to that in 2017.
Yeah,
you
want to
know.
get back to that, definitely.
So, but it was a great year, and hopefully everybody can check out the website and see some of our print reviews or solo reviews and that kind of thing, and then catch up on what we've been listening to.
I think it was a great year for music. I think we got a lot of tremendous albums, but 2016 was a tremendously tragic year too for music.
It definitely was.
Because I think we are, we definitely have to talk about a little bit about just how many people we lost.
Yeah.
Starting at the beginning of the year with David Bowie.
Right.
And just recently we lost George Michael.
I know.
Here at the end of the year.
Right.
And
so many people between.
And so many people between.
Like Glenn Fry.
And
Sharon
Jones.
Who were both big fans
of.
And George Martin, who, obviously so much a part of the Beatles' success and sound.
Yeah. And so many musical artists. To me, it's almost painful to look at the entire list of names this year. Prince. That was probably, along with George Michael, that was probably one of the most shocking ones.
Yeah. because people didn't see that one coming.
No,
Whereas
no.
David Bowie, I think some people had heard he had been ill.
Well, yeah, we knew
that kind
he'd
of
been
thing.
ill. We knew he'd been sick. He'd fought cancer.
Yeah.
It looked like he'd overcome it, and you know, it still was a shock because I think we felt like he's beaten cancer. We've certainly got him for a while. For
Yeah.
a while, we've certainly got David Bowie for a while longer
Yeah.
now, but it did happen.
Yeah.
But
you know.
yeah, but Prince totally out of left field. George Michael totally out of left field.
Yeah.
And
And you know, one thing that no matter regardless of the artist, whether you thought the end was coming or didn't, but it is interesting how when they do pass away, there is this interest in getting to, you know, all of a sudden catch up on what they've been doing and stuff. And I think that can be a good thing. I think Bowie had been so prolific and so artistically, you know, great over so many years. But here you have his most recent album. I think it is up for a Grammy coming up and stuff. And hopefully it would have been nominated anyway because I like I said, I put it on my list. It was one of the great albums of 2016, Black Star. Just a great album, you know. And what a loss that he passed away just a couple days after that came out.
Yeah.
You know.
there is that old saying, you know, you don't miss the water till the well runs dry.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. We both were kind of shocked to find out that David Bowie had never had a #1 album
Yeah.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
till he passed away. Until
that's shocking.
till Black Star. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of mind blowing to
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah, it is.
And but yeah, and to me, one of the these have all been great losses, but one of the losses that hit me the most was Sharon Jones.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a big fan of Sharon Jones, the Dap Kings, but also Sharon Jones was to me a real inspiration in that here was a woman who, for a long time, did not have a music career. She worked as a prison guard,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until her later half of her life that she
Yeah.
managed to get her music career really going.
I know, what a story.
In
Yeah.
her 50s, she began to really make real headway into the
Right.
music industry, and I thought, to me, that was very inspirational, because our mainstream music industry seems so youth oriented.
It is very much, yeah.
But I honestly still believe that when listeners hear music, no one's thinking, "Oh, they're too old for me to like."
Yeah.
No one's thinking that. We just know when we hear a good song.
But that's the way the
And-
marketing machine works. I mean,
Yeah.
so many of the media releases I get, if the artist is, if they're in their teens and stuff, they have to point that out. It's like that's like what they're trying to get to sell you on
Yeah.
it, not the music itself. And Sharon Jones went in the face of that because
Yeah.
she kind of celebrated who she was
Yeah.
as a person in her life, and fortunately I did get to see her perform once live, and she was fantastic, and she had this real spirit. I remember she brought a fan up, and she had this love of life and music and stuff, and it was an infectious, great spirit, kind of like what Vintage Trouble does too. Just
Yeah.
has this really, so much of the music scene can kind of be serious, but she was somebody that seemed to just really have fun, and the whole experience of making music was exuberant to her. And what a loss that she passed away after a tough fought battle with cancer and stuff. You know.
It's, and I guess that leads me into 2017. Let's try to end this on a more positive note here.
Let's end,
2017. Do you have any predictions or thoughts?
I don't yet. I mean, already a lot of the albums are coming into me for 2017, but I've just been, because of been under the weather and trying to coalesce my thoughts about 2016 and everything. I haven't, but you can be certain I'm going to dive in soon. So I don't really know what is ahead for 2017. I mean, hopefully plenty more great albums. I mean, I'm it seems like every year, like, oh, I wonder if it'll, there'll be great music this year, and there always seems to be a lot of music to celebrate.
Is there anyone that you have heard is releasing in 2017 that you're really looking forward to?
Elbow, definitely. I have heard their first single off their next album, because their lineup has always been, I think, for like 20 years or something, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the drummer recently left. So this album looks like they're gonna a slight change in direction for them, because they're having to either use fill-in drummers or maybe do the sessions. But the first single I was very impressed by it, so I'm really looking forward to hearing the new album by Elbow when it comes out. I know because you must have one on the top of your mind.
There is now. First of all, as far as anybody coming out in 2017, I haven't really been hearing of anybody coming out in 2017 that I'm like, oh, can't wait to see the next album. I'm assuming that most of the artists that are either of the legendary status or of the newer status that I've been following, that I'm assuming they're going to come out with a new album this coming 2017. I'm just kind of assuming.
Yeah.
Most artists tend to put out an album, a new release once a year at least. I'm kind of assuming it. Hopefully a new Beck album.
Yeah.
Would be.
No, we had hoped for 2016, but it looks like it's been delayed.
Yes, hopefully a new Beck album in 2017. But if there's one artist whose catalog I'd like to see, recently it occurred to me I'd like to see their catalog just reissued, repackaged properly, it's Van Halen.
Okay.
And because I feel like they got a remastering some years back, but all they did was just put them on CD with a jewel case. They included all the original album art, but they did nothing extra with it. So I would really like to see Van Halen come out. I would like to see Van Halen's, at least their first, from all their vinyl releases before CD, and I think that would go all the way up to like the first Sammy Hagar album.
Okay.
At least the early part of their catalog reissued again. I'd like to see it reissued in a nice, either each album individually with nice packages with bonus CDs of demos and outtakes. Extensive liner notes, or maybe a complete catalog package of some sort. But I think that's an artist that is we really need to. I think I personally would like to see something.
Yeah, because you're such a fan that would be a dream pack. Kind of like what you got with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've seen with the Led Zeppelin reissues of recent. But I think that would be one that I would definitely want to pick.
Yeah.
And
because I know with the McCartney, he's continuing to. He's come out with these really delightful, and those are just glorious. I mean, those are really giving really nicely done with some treasures, and he's spending a lot of time on each one, and that's a way to do it. Exactly like and he's around to make sure to oversee it himself and make sure they're done right.
Make sure it's done right.
And so that's why Van Halen should do that too. While he's involved and engaged, that's a good time to do it.
I understand that even before this was even. Like 3 months before his passing, it's already available for pre-order, but Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1, George Michael's seminal album, was already being readied for a reissue where it would contain bonus material, and that album's certainly deserving of that. That's been one of my personal favorite albums when that came out in 1990. That was one of my favorite albums of that year, and remains a personal favorite of mine still to this day. This was already planned before he had passed away. It's not a cash in. I want to make that clear. That is coming out this next year. It's just too bad George Michael won't live to see it. But they are going to put it out with some bonus discs. And including his MTV acoustic performance from that time period, which I'll be looking forward to seeing next year. I'll be looking forward to checking that out next year. That album certainly is deserving of a nice reissue package. It was such an amazingly good album.
We already have some things we're looking forward to.
Yeah, we already have some stuff we're looking forward to.
Yeah, exactly.
So aside from that, the only thing that I think we might be seeing a lot of next year, and I can't take credit for saying this. I read this. I was reading some industry articles where a lot of industry professionals were giving their predictions for 2017. Oftentimes these are more business predictions, which I tend to take with a grain of salt because no one knows how things are going to go. But this particular industry insider said, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more protest music than we've ever heard before. And when I heard that, I thought, with as politically polarizing as the year as it was this year, and I think things are going to get even more so next year, I have a feeling I think that might be very true. I think we've already been seeing a lot more artists taking political stances in their music with the Black Lives Matter movement. and you know, Drive By Truckers' latest album was certain. I don't want to say polarizing, but was very was not afraid to really discuss hard political social issues and look at them in a very serious and intelligent way. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that with artists either getting very political, a lot more substantive, you know, less about good times and partying, and more. I would think we'll still see some of that, but a lot more about what's going on in the world, about examining that, exploring that, questioning that, and I think it's going to be that part's going to be very interesting.
It'll be interesting to see if it continues to be, because a lot of that area in music has been led by the legacy artists like the Neil Youngs and and the John Mellencamp's and people like that, and John Fogerty. It'll be interesting to see if the younger generation does delve into that more and maybe moves away from the partying. But that'll be an interesting
and I think we are going to see more of that.
Observe.
I think we are going to see more of that, and we'll see how that bears out.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Anyhow, well, I feel like, do you have anything else you want to say, or I feel like we've kind of summed it up as much as we want to.
You know, just apologize to everybody. We haven't had any new shows in a while, but I think we've made up for some lost time here today.
So if you're watching, go ahead. We'd like to hear in the comments. We'd like to read in the comments what you thought of 2016, what you're looking forward to in 2017 as far as music, maybe what your predictions are. Please share that with us in the comments. We're looking forward to it. And so yeah, we're looking forward, I think, to both being a little healthier. Yeah, we are. And being able to do more shows together. That's right. And being able to share it with you. So want to thank you for watching. And I'm TJR. You can check out my music at tjrmusic.com. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/TJRTheOriginal.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and of course you can read my concert reviews at ocregister.com, and you can read all my regular columns at musicworthbuying.com.
Check them out, yeah. Okay, so hey, we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Have a great, prosperous 2017.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.